Good afternoon. Welcome to the Sunday edition of Midday Live on TV3. It is coming to you from the News Hub at Adesawe. My name is Grace Hamwa Sari. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, President Akufo-Addo directs temporary suspension of foreign travels by ministers, deputy ministers, MMDCEs, and heads of government agencies. Voting underway in parts of Northern Region in NDC constituency elections. You can send us your views and comments on our various social media platforms. We're also live on DSTV channel 279. Let's start from the presidency. Now, President Akufo-Addo has taken a swipe at the minority MPs in Parliament and some elements within the political divide over their stance on processes in acquiring the national identification cards. Speaking at the fourth commencement and presentation of the presidential charter at Ashesi University, the president encouraged Ghanaians to shun cheap politics and support the national identification exercise.
I had hoped that the exercise to provide all citizens with a national identity card would receive the enthusiastic support of all of us as the project finally gets off the ground after years of willful stagnation and neglect. Unfortunately, we seem to have become embroiled once again in another of those full-scale manufactured storms deliberately engineered to slow down progress in everything we try to do. I do not think I say anything contentious if I state here that it is well known that many non-Ghanaians are in possession of voters' cards that they obtain by offering NHIS cards as proof of identity. I do not think that there are more credible basic documentary requirements for establishing nationality or citizenship than a birth certificate or a passport.
He called for support for the exercise.
There is a legal definition of who is a Ghanaian, and I pray that we abandon giving politics a bad name and support this exercise to proceed rapidly to a successful end. The language of denationalization or threats of civil war are, to say the least, extremely unfortunate. They can be fittingly described as base forms of self-serving demagoguery. I am confident that the good sense of the Ghanaian people and the vigilance of the law enforcement agencies will together be sufficient to defeat any ill-conceived, destructive adventure for achieving narrow parochial partisan ends.
Established in 2002, a rigorous review of Ashesi University College's curriculum, finances, governance and infrastructure by the Accreditation Board granted it a presidential charter to award its own degree. The university's class of 2018 were conferred with Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, and Bachelor of Science in Management Information Systems.
Let's just stay with the presidency because President Akufo-Addo has directed that all foreign travels by ministers, deputy ministers, MMDCEs and heads of government agencies be temporarily suspended with immediate effect. Guidelines in respect of future foreign travels aimed at minimizing disruption to government domestic work will be communicated to us shortly. The Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration is, however, exempted from this temporary ban on foreign travels. Please acknowledge receipt and accept strict compliance. The statement So that was excerpts of a statement from the presidency. Stay with us because we'll bring you more on that developing story. Let's go to the quarters of the NDC, where the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, is holding its nationwide constituency polls to elect executives to manage the affairs of the party ahead of the 2020 general elections. The election process has been largely peaceful, except in some constituencies which witnessed some incidents of which led to abrupt end of proceedings. Disorderly registers for the conduct of polls led to delays and agitations by aggrieved persons in some constituencies. There were incidents of intense arguments, charged comments, and intimidation leading to suspension. The slow pace also got delegates impatient with the situation worsening by the absence of some potential voters on the electoral register. The delays resulted in some voters abandoning the exercise, citing tiredness, hunger, and thirst. Resolving accreditation challenges among delegates was another critical issue. The elections had to be put on hold to sort out what party officials always termed internal matters. Confusion rocked some constituencies, forcing the Electoral Commission officers to back out of the process. Polls started at late in most constituencies instead of the advertised 9 a.m., with voting going on till late in the night in some constituencies. Elsewhere in the New Jabeng South constituency, elections of the opposition NDC in the Eastern region was called off due to non-delivery of ballot papers. It is unclear when the elections would be held after yesterday's sedition.
Delegates were at the Eridek voting center by 7 a.m. They all had to wait until minutes after 12 noon when the Regional Assistant Secretary Anodompre came to announce ballot papers would arrive in 5 minutes, urging delegates to be calm. But some delegates could not take the excuse. They felt the regional executive had something to hide. The delegates were furious for the delays, directing their anger at the regional executives. They threatened to boycott the elections, accusing the regional executives of plans to rig the constituency elections for their preferred candidates. Police personnel had to calm some delegates who attempted to remove the Electoral Commission's setup for the elections. The election committee members and aspirants were called into an emergency meeting where the elections were called off. 1,242 delegates from 138 branches were expected to vote in the New Jabeng South constituency elections.
Still on the NDC elections, let's go to the Western region, where 1,045 aspirants vied for varied positions in the Western region's NDC constituency elections. A total of 7,177 delegates participated in the elections. The election could not come off in 2 of the 26 constituencies in the region.
I'm hoping to see that all our people have gone to vote. They voted for those that they think they have to vote for them, and people who are dedicated and committed to the cause of NDC, to rebuild NDC for power 2021.
At the Efia constituency, each of the delegates was given a card, a unique card that will identify them when they come to cast their vote. Doing something unique, that is that your register, you have the pictures of each. I'm at Takrade, and as you can see, voting is still ongoing. Some of the delegates are in line casting their votes. We are told that the process started around 9:30 and it is expected to end at 5 o'clock. Steve, you went unopposed.
Exactly.
What worked for you?
I've been into the communication for a very long time, and currently I'm part of the communication team for Takrade constituency and the Metro as well. And I haven't gathered those experiences. I think all those who wanted to contest me realized I have what it takes.
Over 500 delegates just finished casting their vote for some 35 aspirants here in Sekendi. As you can see, voting has ended and the polling agent together with the electoral officers are sorting out the ballot papers for the constituency organizer position. Even though the election result is yet to be declared, one of the aspirants has started jubilating. According to him, from the way that the voting pattern went, he's very confident that he's going to come out victorious.
We haven't had any problem. Aspirants and delegates were all welcome.
Stay with us because we have more on the NDC constituency elections in our subsequent bulletins. Let's move away from that because Director in charge of Drains Maintenance at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Graham Saba, has expressed concern about the poor drainage system as well as bad attitudes towards sanitation, which he says are the causes of flooding in Accra. He says flooding in Accra will persist until drainage systems are improved.
Drain construction in the first place is very, very expensive, and AME on our own, in our budget lines, there is nothing like drain construction. What we have is drain maintenance, and maintenance is making sure that the drains that exist, we make sure that we maintain them, we clean them, we dissolve them. But if it comes to real construction of drains, stormwater drains, it falls within the ambit of Ministry of Works and Housing.
Perennial flooding in Accra is not new, neither are the causing factors. Building in waterways and poor drainage system are but a few known reasons. City authorities claim they have done enough to bring the situation under control, even though little impact is seen. Director of Drains Maintenance at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Graham Saba, says major drains within the jurisdiction of the AMA were desilted ahead of the rainy season.
So something is being done, but there's something that is being done. If you should ask me, I will tell you that it looks like a mere window dressing. We really need to reconstruct the drains, open the sizes of the drain, until as a nation we are able to build all our drains, concrete it to the extent that it's supposed to go. We shall continue facing this problem.
He blamed the situation on human attitudes.
People throwing garbage and everything into the drain. And if we move upstream, most of the drains, they are not lined. I say they are not lined, it means they are not constructed into concrete drains. So there's a lot of sand, there's a lot of erosion. So anytime it rains, these materials are carried down. And Accra is at the lowest end. So all the storm waters, all the garbage we put into the drains, everything comes to Accra. So this is the problem we are facing now.
In 2013, the government of Ghana and the Conti Group of Companies of the United States of America signed a $660 million agreement for a drainage and sewage project. The widely publicized project was to involve the construction of a massive drainage system for Accra to deal with Accra's perennial flooding issues, but little was heard of the project.
It was an American Exim Bank founding. It seemed the bank was prepared to give the money, but then, they are being prepared to give the money does not mean that the money came. So we did not receive the money to build the drains. So that's the problem.
Now, residents and motorists who ply the pothole-ridden Dansoman-Dacoman Road will see some respite as the Accra Metropolitan Assembly takes steps to solve the problem. Director in charge of drain maintenance at the Assembly says drains along the Odoko-Dacoman-Dansoman junction will be constructed all the way to Kaneshi First Light. Catherine Frimpoma has more.
The Kaneshi-Malam Highway is a busy one. It was expected to reduce traffic situation and improve travel time, but this is not the case because of the numerous challenges motorists face. The Dansoman Junction portion of the road appears to be the worst affected. It is heavily potholed with stagnant and smelly drains. Stench from the drains is now a nuisance to residents and businesses of the once beautiful area in Dansoman. There seems to be no help in sight and residents are frustrated.
The road you people can see some and just small thing because always it be like say you cry you man into me because also only at tuma as said the okobuano. What I say People they come, I'm up for back. They can't interview us. Why you she?
That is a turn of pay and turn through more than 3 hours.
It rained for less than 3 hours, but the whole area got flooded. It is a critical situation.
The other side of the road, which is the Dakuman Junction, is no better. It requires extra care for drivers to safely go through the place.
It is tough for all of us, including private drivers. I'm surprised nothing has been done about it.
Countless media reports have not yielded much, but the problem appears to have now caught the attention of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
Because it's a serious engineering problem that AMB is working on. So the entire stretch is going, not only the Nansuma Junction, but the entire stretch from Gloryland to First Light. So very soon, the first light will be cut, just like what has been done at Malam. But I won't be able to give you the timeline now.
How soon are we seeing that action?
It's a planned activity that may go beyond the rainy season. So it's not likely we may complete during the rainy season. We may go beyond the rainy season. I must confess to that. Because it's not something that is being done in reaction to the rainy season. It's something that we are doing to solve that problem once and for all.
The Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources is rolling out a one house, one toilet program to increase household latrine ownership with a view to end open defecation. Guidelines targeted at the poor and vulnerable for basic sanitation services in Ghana has also been launched.
19% of Ghanaians do not have access to any sanitation facility and therefore practice open defecation. Approximately 19,000 Ghanaians, including more than 3,000 children under 5 years, die each year from diarrhea, 90% of which is directly attributed to poor water, sanitation and hygiene. Acting Chief Director of the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, Joseph Obeng Poku, called for an attitudinal change towards the environment.
People are defecating anyhow, and you can't stop. It will be a challenge for all of us. So we are also calling all Ghanaians that as much as possible, wherever we find ourselves, we should also be our own watchdog, so that people who are dumping refuse indiscriminately, those who are defecating anyhow, we check them. If we don't do that, we can't solve the problem alone.
Deputy Mission Director of USAID, Steve Hendricks, commended stakeholders for their collaborative efforts to help tackle the sanitation menace.
I am very, very optimistic that this is the right opportunity to begin to address hygiene and sanitation issues today in Ghana. This is the right approach, and I think the ministry should be applauded for the launch today and for its bold courage in addressing these issues head-on.
The guideline is to provide directions for stakeholders to properly target the poor and vulnerable without undermining strong community cohesion.
Let's do some other stories now. And oyster harvesters at Chokome, Tetegu and Botiano say they are now optimistic about the future of oyster harvesting in their communities following 5 months of closed season. The closed season, which began in November 2017 and ended in April this year, according to them, is a critical turning point as they now harvest larger volumes of oysters.
Oyster harvesting is a full-time job for women who live along Ghana's coastal communities. Mangrove oysters are predominantly harvested and provide important source of income and protein. However, in the last 3 years, Ghana's oyster stock have significantly dropped owing to an increasing number of harvesters. As families residing along coastal villages increase, a growing number of women engage in year-round harvesting, contributing to the reduction of the oyster stock. In the communities of Chokome, Tetegu and Botiano, oyster stock are on the decline. Oysters are harder to find, and women are seeing the sizes of their collected oysters getting smaller and smaller. Women travel for hours on the Densu Basin to find oysters, which hitherto was very close to them. USAID, through its Sustainable Fisheries Management Project (SFMP), partnered the Development Action Association and the Ghana Fisheries Commission to help oyster pickers from a group called the Densu Estuary Women Oyster Pickers Association. These women developed an organizational charter, standard operating procedures, formed a steering committee, and received training in basic science of oyster habitats and reproduction. In November last year, they made a significant first-time decision to close their oyster grounds to harvesting for 5 months. This decision was based on scientific data which allowed time for the oysters to spawn and grow bigger. Close season, according to experts, is one of the effective ways of replenishing depleting fish stock. These people have observed the close season for 5 months, and we are here today to find out from them what the impact has been.
At first it's not good, but right now I can say it is good because we have been getting more money for our children's school fees and the hospital and at home. So at first we used to sell 50 pesos and 1 cedi, but now we can sell 1 cedi, 2 cedis and above.
The women now want the close season to happen every year. Mirroring the success in the Densu Estuary, USAID and its partners are now taking community-based management to the Ankobra and Pra estuaries to ensure a food-secured future in Ghana.
Let's still stay with the close season because a fisheries governance expert, Kofi Agboga, has advised the government against providing alternative livelihoods or compensations for fishermen during the close season in August. He argued the compensations are unsustainable, noting fisher folks should rather be encouraged to save towards the period to cushion themselves against economic shocks.
Close season refers to a period of the year in which the hunting of a particular type of animal, for example birds or fish, is not allowed. It is one of the effective measures used particularly in the control of fishing, as it allows fishes to reproduce during breeding seasons. The close season is also intended to help replenish the depleting stock in the marine subsector. The Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, together with the Fisheries Commission, in accordance with Sections 76(3) and 84 of the Fisheries Act 2002, Act 625, started the implementation of the close season for the industrial sector in 2016. Following the positive results, there is justification to continue, intensify and extend it to cover all sectors, including the artisanal fishing sector. The ministry implemented the first 2018 close season in January and lifted the ban on fishing in March. The second close season for the year is scheduled for August. According to the ministry, all coastal regions have agreed to comply apart from Greater Accra, which has cited sociocultural reasons for their protest. Others have called for alternative livelihoods to sustain the fisherfolk during the period. But fisheries governance expert Kofi Agboga has a contrary view.
We need to persuade them, we need to work with them for them to know that this first year is an experiment. All of us should just put our tools down. As we move forward in the process, we can now begin to develop mechanisms. If you close the sea for 18 days, for instance, are you going to turn somebody into a carpenter overnight or a mason overnight?
He rather thinks saving towards the period is more sustainable.
Government is spending almost $44 million a year on premix subsidy. For 1 month, if you divide 44 by 12, you have $3.something million. If we can change this into Ghana cedis and we have every fisherman, and by mobile money transfer, if you have their numbers, you can send some transfer to everybody.
Now, poor road network and the lack of storage facilities remain the bane of vegetable farmers in the Yilo-Krobo districts of the Eastern region. Peter Kwao Adato reports that post-harvest losses continue to rise as farmers are unable to convey produce to market centers. Post-harvest losses has been a major cause of poverty among peasant farmers in Ghana. These farmers, after praying for the rains to ensure good yield, must remain on their knees in order to market their produce due to bad roads. The focus today is Abuabisiase community in the Yilo-Krobo districts of the Eastern region, which is noted for yam and vegetable production. The 6-kilometer road linking the community to the Klo Agogo market is in a terrible state. Both farmers and traders go through hell to transport farm produce from the area. All kinds of vehicles get stuck or break down while conveying farm produce out of Abuabisiase. This Kia truck got stuck here for 3 days carrying bags of garden eggs. Residents of the community spent days to empty the truck to enable them push it out of the mud. The same man-hours was spent in reloading the truck. The challenge, they lamented, keeps traders away from their farm produce. Residents say those who manage to come to the community determine the price of their farm produce using the bad road as an excuse. Currently, a sack of garden eggs is being sold at 30 cedis instead of 70 cedis or more. The over 2,000 residents want an immediate solution to the problem to enable them reap the benefits of their toil. Now, the Volta Regional House of Chiefs has embarked on a series of engagement with chiefs and kingmakers of 3 traditional areas in the central town districts in a bid to resolve outstanding chieftaincy disputes. The meeting was with the Mafi, Bakpa and Vume traditional authorities.
The Mafi, Bakpa and Vume traditional areas, all in the Central Town District, have over the years been embroiled in disputes over succession leading to underdevelopment. The Mafi traditional area, for instance, has been without a substantive paramount chief for 25 years, as 4 persons at different times hold themselves as such. Similar cases prevail at Bakpa and Vume. The engagements were in 3 folds: facts-finding, open dialogue and dispute resolution. Participants were taken through peace-building mechanism, unity, stool, family and public lands administration and traditional chieftaincy role. The administrator of stool land, Chrissy Bobobi, outlined some of the challenges associated with land dispute resolution.
Proceeds from gazetted land are shared among key stakeholders proportionally. Only 10% goes to the state, 25% to the stole, and 20% to the traditional council. The respective district, municipal, or metropolitan assembly takes the remaining 55%. This is to ensure development that would benefit the entire populace.
Registrar of Volta Regional House of Chiefs, Harry Atipo, explained the rationale for the engagement.
The Volta Regional House of Chiefs, under the auspices of the Ministry of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, have decided to undertake a series of programs in the region to transform the chieftaincy institution in the region and also keep all the various chieftaincy disputes in the region.
The 3 traditional areas are expected to stay away from all forms of traditional council activities until the issues are resolved.
You're still watching Midday Live on TV3. We're back with some more stories after this break. Don't go away. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching Midday Live on TV3. Now, some 8 months after Mission's advocacy for improved healthcare in the East districts of the Upper West region, some efforts are yielding results. Bright Nana Ampho reports the District Assembly is using the District Development Fund to start a district hospital. In fact, the tender for the first phase of the district hospital has been opened.
The district of over 72,000 population has no district hospital. They relied on CHIPS compounds and health centers. Cases are sometimes referred to Wa, the regional capital. That's over 4 hours drive from the district capital. The poor nature of roads is a headache.
The two major roads that we have they are just F roads, but because they are under highways, we call them the major roads and the highway roads. But it has been a very long time that these two roads has never received any graveling. Some of the roads are passed; they have never been engineered before.
The district had no doctor because there was no infrastructure for the doctor to stay in and work. This was the situation in October 2017. But this is changing.
This year, I have started some steps to see how possible the assembly can initiate creating or establishing a district hospital. When we start doing something and we start telling people or crying to the government, then and other NGOs, I think they can come in to help. So what the step I've already taken is that we have put up a bungalow, a bungalow for the district doctor. A doctor has been posted to the district, but we don't have the hospital.
Authorities are tackling it from two angles.
There is a room that was initially being used as a theater. What the assembly has done now is to renovate and expand that facility so that theater services could be offered. District Assembly has also agreed and adopted a roadmap to getting a new district hospital, and already there is a land that was earmarked for that, and which place there is already a building for the doctor but no other infrastructure.
The Assembly says efforts will see a new district hospital soon, by the second half of 2018.
There is a green light. I received a letter from Secretary of District Development Facility allocating an amount of money to the district. That is the 2013 FOAT assessment results, as I'm seeing. So I met with the management of the Assembly, and then we have come out with a plan that if we use that plan, then we will be able to start the establishment of a district hospital.
Authorities are hopeful development of wards will start, and this will see the development of a new district hospital for the Wa East district of the Upper West region.
Efforts at ensuring and improving social inclusion in the Nabdam districts of the Upper East region are yielding results following missions advocacy for these underprivileged ones. 23 persons have been supported to live decent lives. These persons, who have various forms of disability, received between 850 cedis to 4,000 cedis to start and expand their businesses.
Several of them face neglect. Some have been compelled to beg on the streets. Others are into business ventures. But raising funds is a challenge. The District Assembly's 3% Common Fund allocation is a savior. 23 beneficiaries received between 850 and 4,000 cedis. 122 PWDs received funds to cater for their hospital bills. 27 PWDs also got funds for educational needs, while 26 received animals for rearing. Podbire Yenma, a mother of two suffering from cancer since 2014, received a check of 4,000 cedis. The funds are to support her go through surgery. The Nabdam District Disability Fund Management Committee Chairman, Mbabong David Walk, commended the district for releasing the funds. A representative from the Social Welfare Department, Gabriel Azaksa, advised the beneficiaries to invest the monies given them well.
The Namdam District Chief Executive Agnes Anamu commended persons with disabilities and urged them to put the funds to good use. About 230 persons with disability in the Namdam District are yet to apply for the funds at the District Assembly.
Let's do education this now. On Ghana's quest to achieve universal education by the year 2025 may be a mirage unless pragmatic steps are taken to address child labor across the country. Checks in the Pro-East districts of the Brongahafo region reveal most fishing communities have more children out of school than those in classrooms. Peter Kwao Adato reports standards of education are falling.
Obtaining quality education is the foundation to improving people's lives and sustainable development. The Goal 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals, therefore, enjoins all nations to ensure that all girls and boys must complete free primary and secondary schooling by 2030. Ghana has tasked itself to get all children of school-going age into classrooms and to ensure inclusive and quality education by 2025. These goals seem unattainable. Available records indicate that nearly 2 million Ghanaian children are engaged in child labor. Majority of these child laborers, according to the 2014 Ghana Living Standards Survey, are found in the fishing industry. The use of children in fishing activities has been identified as a major setback to school enrollment and effective learning in Ghana. Additionally, schools in fishing communities start academic activities late and close early in order to allow the children to resume fishing activities. A recent visit to some island and fishing communities, including Accra Town, Kadwe, and Utideke, all in the Pro-East district of the Brongahafo region, confirmed the assertion. The school enrollment record at the Utideke DA basic schools, for instance, showed 295 pupils from kindergarten to junior high, but only 112 were in school on Tuesday, June 19. This, according to the teachers, is an improvement as it gets as low as 80 or less in some instances. What is more, most of these children pass through the school to engage in fishing activities.
Those people that they are staying with are not their biological parents, so they send them to the lake to go and work before they will come. So when the child comes to the house and he or she realizes that the time is far spent, then the child will not come at all. So these are some challenges that we are facing here.
Again, all 6 teachers in the community have to travel 8 kilometers on motorbike daily to and from school due to lack of teacher accommodation. The community's attempt at getting the teachers to stay close to the school was unsuccessful.
We made it first, then that one collapsed. We need iron sheet and then this thing, but no.
National Youth Coordinator at the Ghana National Teachers Association, NAT, Thomas Musa, is unhappy with this trend and has called on the communities to help change the worrying trend.
Midday Live is back with sports after this break. On the international front, Turkish voters are going to the polls to decide whether to grant President Recep Tayyip Erdogan a second 5-year term in the most fiercely fought elections in the country in many years. If Mr. Erdogan wins, he will adopt major new powers that critics say will weaken democratic rule. But he faces a major challenge from center-left candidate Muharrem İnce of the Republican People's Party, CHP. Turkey remains under a state of emergency imposed in the aftermath of a failed coup in July 2016. These elections were originally scheduled for November 2019, but were brought forward by Mr. Erdogan. Mr. Erdogan and his main rival Muharrem İnce both held huge rallies on Saturday, their final day of campaigning, and each branded the other unfit to run Turkey. The country has gone through a tumultuous period since the 2016 coup attempt. Let's do some stories in the world of entertainment. Ladies' venture into male-dominated profession may face a variety of challenges. One, and perhaps the most common, is male clients making advances at them. But how can one best overcome that? 21-year-old music video director Sila Owusu has been opening up on how she survived such experiences.
Understand opportunities coming. And if for some reason you can't make it to the phone,
after 3 years of producing and directing music videos for musicians, Sila Owusu has made many acquaintances. Sila's job brings her closer to top musicians, dancers, models, artist managers and the like.
And there's been many times where I've tried to work with certain people. You know how people can be a bit sly and they feel like, oh, come and meet me, let's meet out to have a meeting, and it's just like, really and truly, we're not going to have a meeting, are we?
The fast rising director has had her own share of male clients making advances at ladies in their line of duty.
Yeah, there's a lot of times where I could be on set, and whether that be the artist, someone in their team, or a dancer or a model, will try and flirt and just be annoying. When I first started, I used to get a lot of, hey, I want to marry you and stuff like that.
The 21-year-old described herself as a woman of morals and self-respect.
Me, have an affair, never in my life. I'm a girl, a woman of morals and self-respect, so I will never lower my standards to...
According to Sila, she's always played her cards right. But how has Sila survived such experiences?
My mum always told me that you can't control how people treat you, but you can only control how you react to them. So as long as at the end of the day I keep myself to myself and I remain polite and professional, regardless of what they're saying, whether it's hey baby, hey I want to take you to Nigeria, all of that kind of stuff, as long as I ignore it and kind of do my job, they eventually just stop. It does not matter who the artist is, what the job is, I will never compromise and lower my standards to favour somebody else's needs.
As a producer, director, what happened?
That's how we wrap up Midday Live on TV3. Before we go, let's do a recap of the stories that came through as headlines. President Akufo-Addo directs temporary suspension of foreign travels by ministers, deputy ministers, MMDCEs and heads of government agencies. Voting underway in parts of Northern Region in NDC constituency elections. And on the international front, Turkish voters go to the polls to decide whether to grant President Recep Tayyip Erdogan a second 5-year term. My name is Grace Hamwa-Sari. Many thanks for joining us. Log on to 3news.com for some more stories. Enjoy the rest of our programs.
Thank you.